Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest on the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to Apply. All right, so I have John McCauley on the line, and he's CEO of Virginia Commercial Finance and Hippo Lending. John, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Adam. Nice to be here.
All right, John. So excited for today's topic. So we'll talk about really how Hippo Lending helps simplify access to loans for medical professionals. So I'm interested also to just understand what the medical professional goes through when accessing loans, and also just like to in building their practices. So I know you're an expert in this, so excited to get into this. But we'll start this episode the way that we start them all, with our Mission Matters Minute. So, John, we at Mission Matters, we amplify stories for entrepreneurs, executives, and experts. That's our mission. John, what mission matters to you?
Well, what we do is we're a national healthcare lending company to healthcare professionals. So when they're in a season of their life where they need to borrow money, they come to somebody like us. We have a website online, and we've been in business for close to 30 years. So if somebody wants to invest in a practice to become a partner, or they need to buy equipment or working capital, what we've tried to do is streamline and simplify the process to provide great customer service and a lot of value add. Our firm is looking to help people take advantage of additional profit-making opportunities that would otherwise be missed, or do something as simple as provide debt consolidation to improve to improve cash flow in their households. So what we're really looking to do is fulfill the hopes, needs, and dreams of these heroes that we call healthcare professionals in the United States.
Yeah, it's a great mission, and I'm excited to get your input on what they go through, because I know that a lot of times we're talking about the healthcare system, we're talking about different things, but we rarely, in my opinion, address it from the doctor's end or from the medical professional's end, and also like all it takes for them to do what they do on a daily basis. So it's kind of assumed, but it is a business, and we'll get into that a little bit further. But before we do, so tell me just a little bit more about how you got started, like as an entrepreneur, and just kind of on this path in finance and lending. Like, where did it all begin for you?
Yeah. Well, thanks for the question, Adam. Went into business back in 1994, so I've been doing this for a long time. It basically means I'm old. Started out, in college. I got a background in finance and accounting. I went to work in public accounting. Got great experience there, but that was more of a scorekeeper's job. And so I spent about 10 years working at a bank as an asset-based lender, had some terrific role models. And in the early 90s, I had a very entrepreneurial family with a lot of capital that approached me. And I brought the skills and knowledge to bear to start a lending company. And we've gone through a lot of growth, having a lot of fun. It was initially a job. I was sort of a reluctant entrepreneur. I didn't really expect to do this, but had a lot of passion for helping people, and really am doing my life's mission today. So I'm having a lot of fun, and I've learned a lot along the way.
Yeah. I love that term, reluctant entrepreneur. I've also heard accidental entrepreneur. I mean, I've heard a lot of different things. I fall in probably one of those categories myself, where I'm like, I didn't necessarily have that whole dream of I'm gonna grow up and be an entrepreneur, like many people do, and more, a lot of praise to them, but that wasn't my story. So that being said, obviously, years in the business, years as an entrepreneur, we all learn from the ups, the downs, everything in between. Like there'll be some would-be or first-time entrepreneurs, and I don't mean just because of age or anything like that. Like a lot of executives now are leaving and they're starting their own businesses, and when they're more advanced in their career, like a lot of different levels of entrepreneurs out there. What are some of the things that you would say to those new entrepreneurs that are going out there and kind of just getting started?
Well, I think preparation is a really important thing. I think competing in the workplace today is probably pretty tough. The
Mhm.
world is growing at an exponential rate. So I happen to believe that we're living in a time in human history where it's never been better. But it's
Mhm.
also got some challenges that are associated with that. So, what you need to be equipped with, it depends on what your goals are. I mean, I
Mhm.
think if you want to do a hobby and you want a one man show, that's a very different business model than if you want to have a little business with 4 or 5 people. When you cross over to over 10 people or even over 30 people, the game begins to change and you have to be very adaptable.
Yeah.
Um, and so, preparation, talking with good advisors, listening to
Mhm.
podcasts, and learning from the mistakes of others. If you're smart, you can learn from others. I was probably a bit insane and a little dumb when I first started, and I've learned a lot of life lessons. But I have a lot of grit, and so I think that you better have a lot of grit if you're going to try to jump into the field of business ownership.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you kind of break down these different tranches and different like number of employees. I was talking to actually a buddy of mine last night, and he's going they just crossed the 40 employee mark, and they're saying they're aiming at 70 by the end of the year. And I was thinking to myself, man, we just got over like 15 on our end. I'm like, ooh, okay, that was I had to take a breath because I feel like every level of entrepreneur, like of being an entrepreneur, whether it's revenue, employee count, like all these things are factors. Like each level has kind of like these different learning lessons that are involved, right?
Yeah, I think, when you're at 15 people, it's like the teenage years,
Yeah.
and those can be very, very challenging years. So best of luck to you, Adam.
Yeah. So, going a little bit further into the topic. So, medical professionals lending. I'd like to, if we can, break this conversation into a couple of components. So, first, I don't want to assume that everybody that watches this kind of understands the plight or what it takes to access funding and just that career journey. So, can maybe we start there, like on what it looks like as a medical professional comes out of school, they're maybe joining somebody else's practice or they're thinking of starting their own. Let's kind of start from the beginning on this one.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times people are investing in themselves, aren't they?
Mhm.
And so the people that go into the healthcare professional tend to be very bright.
Yeah.
They're super well educated, and they spend years getting their medical license. So
Mhm.
you have people that are coming out of medical school today with hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt,
Yeah.
but they have a profession that they're in where they can make a significant amount of money. And
Mhm.
oftentimes, what they've done is they've put debt together in such a
Mhm.
way that's very short term,
Mhm.
and they find themselves in situations where their cash flow doesn't look that great. So they need to find a lender that's going to be able to help them. So there's lots of people that can do it.
Mhm.
Banks specialize in it, but it tends to be done through the private banking group. And
Mhm.
in large banks today, for example, they're looking for fee-based activities. So they tend to
Yeah.
look to healthcare professionals that have a lot of assets. But if you've made
Mhm.
a big investment in your education and you don't come from a wealthy family, you're liable to have a lot of debt. So you need to
Mhm.
find a lender that can understand where you are, what the season of the life is. And what
Mhm.
we're really doing is trying to meet different seasons of people that have borrowing needs. And
Mhm.
so we use a lot of technology to make it very efficient. People can come to our website, they make an application, then we have an appointed customer service advocate that
Mhm.
works with you throughout the entire process. So we use both technology, but it's a human to human business. So we're not like a
Mhm.
fintech company and we're not like a traditional bank that's trying to sell you a variety of products and services that at
Mhm.
this point you might not need.
Mhm.
And so if you look at our Google reviews, you can see that people enjoy working with us. They say this is very
Mhm.
simple, it's very streamlined, and we know how to add a lot of value. Even if we can't help somebody right now, the
Mhm.
thing that we do is we explain to them what you need to do in
Mhm.
order to get to a point where you can qualify for financing. Somebody that's a healthcare professional has got deep knowledge, and they take care of us when we're sick.
Yeah.
Our deep knowledge is in finance. And, Adam, I know you used to be in the finance business. It's not particularly complicated, but in the United States,
Mhm.
um, financial literacy, or this thing called exchange for value, which is really what
Mhm.
we do related to lending, uh, not everybody is an expert there. It's kind of a topic when you talk about money. It's one of those taboo
Mhm.
topics that oftentimes we don't talk about it at the kitchen table with
Yeah.
mom or dad. And so we all know what the taboo topics are: religion, politics, sex, and money.
Yep.
And so um, the basic financial literacy of some of the brightest and the best as it relates to how to go
Mhm.
about effectively borrowing money, they don't know how to do that. And what we like to do is take the mystery out of it because it's not that complicated.
Yeah.
Money's not at the root of all evil. The love of money is at the root of all evil.
Mhm.
And so borrowing money, when it's used productively and you have a lender that's there to try to help you
Mhm.
do it wisely, so that you can achieve the visions and the dreams that you have
Mhm.
for your family. It's really nice to sort of be a part of that and to be able to extend that in a small way
Mhm.
to people that, generally speaking, are a whole heck of a lot smarter than we are. Because the finance business, I
Mhm.
will tell you, is much easier to understand than somebody that takes care of somebody that is ill.
Mhm.
And so I just look at everybody that we serve as American heroes. And so
Yeah.
it's neat to be a servant in that regard.
Yeah, it's awesome, and it's a great story. I want to pause a second before we go further into hippo lending because I do want to go into hippo lending and also maybe some scenarios that a medical professional would choose to seek out lending. But I want to know a little bit more first about Virginia Commercial Finance. So tell me a little bit more about that company.
Yeah, Virginia Commercial Finance is the parent to Hippo Lending. They actually
Mhm.
own Hippo Lending.
Mhm.
Hippo Lending is a specialty company that lends directly to medical professionals, as we've
Mhm.
discussed nationally across the country. Virginia Commercial Finance is a standalone asset-based lender. They
Mm.
provide credit accommodations between $1 million to $15 million to companies doing up to $300 million a year in sales.
Mm.
So we work with companies that are typically going through understandable losses at the time, but
Mhm.
have a good story. And it's primarily a collateral lender. And
Mm.
so I started out after public accounting in a bank where I was traveling all over the country
Mhm.
for a big bank doing asset-based lending, and I started doing that on my own with a very wealthy family,
Mhm.
and then buying more of the business over a period of time. For a long time, I was mortgaging my kids, and I myself was borrowing a lot of money to continue to invest in this business. So I know
Mhm.
what it's like to borrow money uh, and to lend money. So.
Yeah.
But the main focus in our business today is really on the medical professionals.
Mhm.
About 4 or 5 years ago, we made a strong pivot here. So we do both.
Mhm.
But I think the purpose of the conversation today is about hippo lending.
Absolutely. So now going further, and thank you for that. So going further into hippo lending, what are some examples or times that medical professionals will typically go out to seek lending?
Well, if you've been invited to be a partner in a practice,
Hmm.
there's partner buy-ins, there's partner buyouts.
Yeah.
Um, Medical professionals may be in their career where they're looking to make a business investment that's actually
Hmm.
outside of their profession, but they're going to continue to work. We have a
Hmm.
specialty and a way of looking at that that allows medical professionals to make business investments to create ancillary income for themselves.
Hmm.
We do a tremendous amount of debt consolidation,
Hmm.
which is designed to improve cash flow into the household. If you think about it, in most households today, if you can
Yeah.
improve your cash flow by 1,000 or 1,500 bucks per month,
Hmm.
how much more present might you be able to be with your children, with your spouse,
Yeah.
to then be delivering more good to your community? And so we do a lot of debt consolidation. Uh,
Hmm.
Interestingly enough, you find a lot of healthcare professionals with short-term debt obligations that are just making it very difficult for them to make it to the end of the month.
Hmm.
And so that's a service that we do a lot of.
And so, can you give me an example of that? Because I know some people may be watching this and they're medical professionals. And the thing is that you don't know what you don't know, right? So they may be thinking that they may be running into cash flow issues, and they may think that there's not necessarily this alternative thing, because this doesn't happen by accident. I mean, it's over time. They took on a lot of debt, maybe as you mentioned, for school, all these other things add up. It's expensive. And then maybe that debt consolidation thing, they don't, and I know this will be different for every single person, and they have
Yeah,
different things, but
yeah,
what kind of
yeah,
capital?
yeah. These themes repeat themselves over and over.
Yeah.
Where somebody wakes up one day and they have 20 obligations, and you can do a
Yeah.
debt consolidation, and all of a sudden you've got one payment. It saves them a lot of money. It reduces the interest obligation. You can spread out the term because their
Hmm.
career is such that they're early in their career,
Hmm.
and it just improves their life immeasurably overnight.
Hmm.
So we're a lender that is an expert at doing that, and we love doing that.
Hmm.
Uh, you find households where you have nurses, perhaps with a
Hmm.
child that's been sick, and perhaps they were out of work for a period of time. They've got some bills that have
Yeah.
piled up. People who are trying to make themselves better in society
Hmm.
today, and those are the people that we're looking to help.
And just the mental, I feel like the mental strain of
Uh,
cash flow and things like that. As a business owner, I know how that can be. So as a medical professional who's dealing with lives, right? Like that mental strain of if it's getting a little tight, and just to be able to have that pressure release. I mean, that's got to be, it's just such a service.
Yeah, it's amazing how many
Mhm.
people have the willingness to pay their obligations, but
Mhm.
the capacity is getting a little tight, and you need somebody like us that's an expert to help you
Mhm.
with that flexibility.
Yeah.
And so, somebody can come to us and inside of 2 weeks have financing anywhere from 15,000 to $500,000, depending upon the
Mhm.
circumstances. So that's generally the size of the loans that we're making in each and every accommodation.
Mhm. So you've given a couple examples why, a medical professional might use Hippo lending. One is, as you mentioned, you have the opportunity to maybe buy into a practice. You have an opportunity to buy a practice, maybe debt consolidation. Is there anything else that I'm missing here? But these, I mean, all great reasons, but is there anything else I'm missing?
Um, we said business expansion, so an
Mhm.
investment outside of the medical field. Um, Working capital.
Mhm.
Sometimes a practice needs additional working capital.
Mhm.
Um, and we're financing not just people that are doctors and nurses, but
Mhm.
veterinarians. Veterinarians are one of my favorites. I have a
Yeah.
daughter that's at a university now.
Mhm.
She's getting out of vet school here shortly, so I'm real proud of her. So,
Yeah.
uh, you know, she has a lot more capacity than her dad
Mm.
does, and she's going to be a healthcare professional. She loves taking
Wow.
care of animals, and uh, maybe one day she'll come back Hippo lending for a loan. Who knows?
That's awesome. So I want to get into some of the culture at Hippo. So just for example, I noticed as I was doing research for this interview. I mean, for example, you call them members, not borrowers. Like, tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, as I said earlier, we wanted to take the mystery out of borrowing, so we
Yeah.
want to ease fear that exists. Anytime you do anything new, people get a little bit nervous,
Mhm.
and a lot of times lending is a very formal process at a bank. By really just having a conversation back with one another, we're here to serve. It's
Mhm.
part of our culture. We have something called our push it values. So we
Mhm.
like to push it, but push it stands for passion. We're very passionate about what we do to try to help others.
Mhm.
Um, U is unity. We believe that teams can do and go a lot further than anyone individually. S
Mhm.
is servanthood. So we're really trying to serve uh, what lenders would call a borrower. We call them a member
Mhm.
because we consider what we do to be sort of a partnership with them. And we're
Mhm.
here to help, not just today, but in the future if there are additional needs. And then
Mhm.
H is humility. Humility is a very important thing in life. I've learned that the hard way. And then I is integrity. And
Mhm.
last but not least is thankfulness.
Yeah.
So, so culture is probably the only thing that differentiates you. People can copy what you do, but they
Mhm.
can't copy your culture. And so, what we like to do is get badass players to come to work with us that identify with the push it values. And we talk a lot about our behaviors, and then we buttress that with
Mhm.
about 13 different attributes. We're an organization that's very growth oriented. We like to pursue excellence. We talk about the need for ownership.
Mhm.
We do a lot of individual monthly workshops within our company for our
Mhm.
teammates about what ownership means. I'm a big believer in extreme ownership.
Mhm.
So the organization at the leadership level needs to teach people what it is that your mission is inside the organization, and for you to have a line of sight to what the vision for the company is, because what we're really doing is investing all our time, talents, and treasure for the greater good of the healthcare community.
Mhm.
And everybody has missions, and through extreme ownership, if you're not hitting what your practical goals are,
Mhm.
you are empowered through a process to figure that out, work with your manager, and let us know what's needed, because we're living in the 21st century where leadership actually has the least amount of knowledge. It's the people
Mhm.
on the front line that are seeing how things are moving and adapting, and they they need tools that are empowering. So we're looking for people that can recognize that I'm plugging into a system. I may be conforming to the system, but I'm conforming to something that represents my own values,
Mhm.
and that I can be my own individual, and I'm basically my own owner inside this company.
Yeah.
And that makes it a lot of fun. And um, you know, uh, as this has really turned into to, to my life's work,
Mhm.
if you will. And I'm very grateful for this opportunity to be leading a badass team. I've got great teammates that are serving my members, and my job is simply to try to serve my teammates.
Mhm.
And I try to do that. Some days better than other days, but for the most part, I try to be the calm at the center of the daily storms that occur from time to time.
Mhm.
As you well know, being an entrepreneur yourself, Adam, that you have these
Mhm.
storms.
Yeah. Well, big shout out to those badass team members out there that you got working
Yeah,
for you. So,
yeah. And we're we're
awesome to hear.
we're we're actually looking for more people too. So if you like what you hear and you want to kind of come to us, we'd love to hear from you.
Oh man, that's great. And at the end of this, I'll of course give you opportunity to leave contact info and that kind of stuff because I definitely want the audience to go check it out. But so let's say I'm a medical professional. I'm watching this. I'm all about user journey, and I think we have a good basis for Hippo lending. What you do, like, what does that journey look like? I know you mentioned earlier it can be as little as 2 weeks, but let's break that down a little bit more. So I'm a medical professional. I'm watching this. I click on the link and I'm like, all right, I'm at this website. Like, what's next? Take me through what the process could look like.
Yeah, it's a simplified application of 3 or 4 questions. It comes into a database. You're immediately assigned to what we call a customer service advocate. It's
Mhm.
an individual who's going to get on the phone with you, uh, and what we call it initially is a first responder call. And
Yeah.
the first responder call is basically identifying that what you put in the application is what you're looking for.
Mhm.
And depending upon the one of 8 different loan types, there's a couple of other pieces of information that we get. They get that
Mhm.
information to us. There's an entire team that supports the customer service advocate, but the advocate is there to be your representative
Mhm.
to help you get the financing that you're looking for. But behind the scenes, you have your underwriters, you have your analysts, you have your operational people, and it takes a whole group of people. But this is a
Mhm.
people to people business, so
Mhm.
we're using technology to bend time. Uh,
Yeah.
Medical professionals are really busy, and they're really just trying to solve a problem. And what we're
Mhm.
doing is often getting into a conversation in as efficient a way as possible,
Mhm.
breaking down what those needs are to get you what you need,
Mhm.
and making sure that this is something that is going to be good for you and that you
Mhm.
can adequately repay the loans. Because in our
Mhm.
business, if we put on too many loans that don't repay, the firm can't continue to serve the
Mhm.
community in a broader way.
Mhm.
And the portfolio is holding up very well. We have very little
Mhm.
bad debt embedded in the portfolio.
Mhm.
Um, Healthcare professionals are truly servants. They want to do the right thing, and our customer service
Mhm.
advocates are the best in the world. They go through an extensive amount of training to
Mm,
be able to listen effectively to
mhm,
what your needs are, what your desires are,
mm,
and how we can match up against this. It's really basic communication and connection. It doesn't need to be particularly complicated.
yeah.
If that makes any sense. And there's a second and there's a third call,
Mhm,
and then there's a loan closing.
yeah.
Uh, and but it is fashioned and customized to the individual.
Mm,
Is probably the simplest way that I can kind of describe it, because when you have 8 different loan purposes,
mhm,
there are unique needs and things that we need to be able to help you. So
mm,
it's basically a two-way street.
yeah. And so it sounds to me like for overall for the process, it seems pretty simple. So somebody applies, they now have their advocate, their representative. It's definitely a people-driven process. And the good thing I like about working with a company that's really niche, just to serve a need, is that if your lender like at Hippo is dealing with doctors and medical professionals all day long, they already get you. Like they know you. You're not starting from scratch. Like you're with maybe another type of lender that doesn't
Yeah.
specialize. They know you. They've already probably and most likely seen your situation at some point, right?
No, that's exactly right. I'm constantly amazed by the number of doctors and healthcare
Yeah.
professionals that say precisely what you said, Adam, which is, "You guys just get us,"
Yeah.
and that's nice. It's like being at home. And who doesn't like to be at home? Well, not everybody, but most of us want to be at home, and you want to be welcome,
Yeah.
and
You want
so
somebody to get you, that's the thing. So if you're a veterinarian, if you're whatever type of professional you are, like you want somebody that's worked with that understands your business, that understands the model, that understands like what you're going through, that understands just for example, that understands if you're in a cash flow crunch and you're in XYZ year of your career and you have these other things mounting and you need some debt consolidation, they get
it's
it. The other person
it's
on the other side of the line, they know that you didn't like that you got in this situation because of your chosen path and you had a bunch of debt because why you had to pay for your college. And if you didn't come from a wealthy family, well, hey, you still went ahead and did it. So they understand the courage you took and bringing on that debt and doing all those things to be able to function and to help us in the healthcare system.
Absolutely. Courage, in fact, is one of our 13 attributes that we
Mm,
train. And we happen to think that people that are in the healthcare business show a lot of courage. You don't have to
yeah.
look very far to see COVID in the courageous men and women that are
Mhm.
serving in the healthcare industry. It's amazing to watch what they're doing to keep us safe.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
in a small way, we're trying to participate and help them with the financing that they need when
Mhm.
they need it.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. It makes sense. The model makes sense. I mean, you've created a real, refuge and source of capital for many medical professionals out there. I think it's great. It's a great story. Your track record. I mean, you've been in the business a long time, and then you got a badass team. I mean, what more can you ask for? I'm in.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I couldn't make the team
Mhm.
today because we don't even hire anymore. We select people,
Mm,
and we have good people that want to come work for us, and I'm
yeah,
constantly amazed. People don't lack a work ethic; they lack a leader to believe in them today.
yeah,
And it's so much fun working at this age because we have the 5 generations of people in the workplace. The
yeah.
21st century is very different than the 20th century. It's an awesome time to be alive.
Mhm. It's awesome. So, John, I just have to say, it's been amazing having you on the show, getting to know more, and of course, getting this information out to our audience. It's just been great. So, I do have to ask. I know you're a busy guy. So, what's next? I mean, what's next for you? What's next for Hippo Lending?
Yeah, that's a great question, Adam. Thanks. You know, we're in a growth phase. And
Mm,
so, what we're looking to do is keep it simple
yeah,
and continue to execute and scale. And
mhm,
so we're looking for more badasses to fill the positions as a result of the growth and the demand that we foresee. We're at the early stages and we're just having a lot of fun. So if you like what you hear and you'd like to apply or you want to borrow money, just go to hippolinding.com.
mhm.
It's that simple to get started. If you're looking for a job or a career, go to the careers page.
Oh, fantastic. And we'll put that website and all the other information in the show notes so that our audience can just click on it and head right on over. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters, we're a platform that's all about bringing on entrepreneurs and experts and having them share their mission, share their life's passion. Like, why do they do what they do? Like, what gets them excited? What they learn along the way? If that's the kind of content that you're into, we definitely welcome you to hit that subscribe button because we have many more mission based individuals coming up on the line, and we don't want you to miss a thing. And John, really, it has been a pleasure having you on here and getting to know more about you and your story, and wishing you much more continued success. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, Adam. Have a great day.